All right, I gotta get this out of the way. I hate you all for making me record this at 10 a.m. I'm so tired right now. You guys suck.
I'm over here staring at you at 7 a.m.
Yeah, but you're used to this, I'm sure.
I don't usually get up until an hour from now.
That's funny because
Wow.
I was just explaining how I was awake and drunk 4 hours ago.
Jesus Christ.
And now here I am.
Well, why were you drunk? What day is it?
Well, that's a great question, Ray.
It's Blackout Friday.
It's Blackout Friday. It's our first annual Blackout Friday.
What the fuck is that?
We're about to find out what it is because I don't know how this is going to go. We are Flying the Coop podcast. We are back. We are doing something we're actually doing 2 new things this week.
What are we doing, Floppy?
I'll tell you, Ray, we are doing, oh boy, this is too much for me. I'm like my gas tank going and like, it's like I flicked it and all of a sudden it went from full to empty immediately. So
Is it because we exhaust you?
No, it's just because I was drunk and awake 4 hours ago.
Oh, I'm such an idiot.
Uh-oh.
Oh my god. Why didn't I ask that on the Morning Somewhere Q&A?
What's that?
Well, we know you're an idiot, but why are you an idiot this time?
Sorry, I just had an epiphany.
Oh, go ahead.
I should have asked if there's any interest in remaking the Why We're Here documentary, but for the modern Rooster Teeth.
That's a good question.
Calling yourself stupid is kind of funny because you are the only person here without a degree, I think.
Oh, that's right.
Hey, yeah, that's
He doesn't have a
true.
degree yet.
Yeah, I don't have any degree.
Well, technically, I don't get mine for a few weeks.
You count, Hammer. Don't worry.
Yeah, you count.
You count.
Hammer.
So we're doing 2 new things today. First, we're taking a break and we are going to do a very special episode about a Rooster Teeth documentary. Now, the fun thing is we are trying out a new style for the podcast because we are hitting episode 6 and we want to do something new. Instead of all 5 of us having Wikipedia pulled up and going through a show, we're only going to have one of us doing it. So what we're going to do now is we're going to all watch everything and we're going to have one person lead the discussion. And this is us testing it out. And we are testing it out with the Rooster Teeth Why We're Here 15-year documentary that was released in 2018 to mixed reception. I don't really remember how people felt about it. I loved it at the time.
This was the documentary. I became a first member for this documentary. I remember when it came out, but it wasn't a big deal. Like they not a lot of people paid attention to it. I feel like back in the day.
I agree.
Well, it is very effective propaganda for every scandal they had up until that point.
Oh.
Had they had a lot of scandals at that point? I think in 2018 they were pretty clean.
No,
still.
they'd had a couple.
I could think of 2.
Yeah, there were a couple of scandals up to that point.
Well, let's talk about them.
No,
This is the what's our podcast called? This is Flying the Coop, and we're talking about all the scandals.
No,
actually,
we should never make you record at 10 a.m. ever again.
do I seem cranky?
I got 3 words for you, Brendan. Hurricane fidget spinner.
What is that?
Well, we'll talk about it later. So we are talking about this documentary. Like Brendan said, I was already a crazy huge fan at this time. What happened, the way it started for me was I was listening to the podcast as I did every Monday. I would listen to it as I walked to school in New York, and it's kind of how I disassociated at the time. They were talking about it, and Bernie talked about how he had just turned over hundreds or thousands of photos to this documentary crew because they were doing an anniversary documentary. And I was like, well, I have to see whatever that is. I'm pretty sure it was first only at the time.
It was.
It was, yeah.
And it blew my mind. It was really good. When did everyone watch this for the first time?
Today.
Yesterday.
Couple of years ago.
When it came out, day it came out, I totally remember. I was so hyped. I was like, oh my god, because I'd always been curious, like what the spare bedroom looked like.
Oh yeah,
because they would talk about it so much, and the office in Buda, because there's not like a lot of photos that they would show from those, and especially not from the outside or like an actual video tour of those offices.
Outside of using, and people may correct me here, outside of using like the Wayback Machine and going to the old Drunk Gamers website, or finding old Rooster Teeth website posts, which the website at this point was still pretty hard to navigate. It had already kind of made that transition away from the social side. It hadn't gone full non-social like it did after COVID, but it still wasn't like people weren't using it a lot. Mm-mm. So it was hard to go back and find any of that old historic stuff. So yeah, for like the Buda office, we had seen like Rooster Teeth Animated Adventures there, and the RT Comics from that location, but we hadn't seen that. We hadn't seen the spare bedroom, and maybe like they would release photos every now and then, but they certainly weren't doing it at that point in the company.
It was really weird for me to watch this doc because I always considered myself a really, really big Achievement Hunter fan and Rooster Teeth fan in general.
Mhm.
And then to go and see that there were two offices before 636 felt very strange because I think I processed in my head there was at least one office before that, and I knew it was started in the spare bedroom, but I didn't process like, oh, they were a production company at one time, like they were on top of this pita place and had offices that I just never even learned about because they kind of stopped talking about them as soon
Yeah,
as they were done.
totally. And the documentary starts so well with basically the place where I guess if I die and I can, I don't know, like read data from dead hard drives, I would go to, which was it opens with Adam from Rooster Teeth, Adam Ellis, going through old hard drives of data that was stored inside the Rooster Teeth offices. And there was a lot of dead hard drives, a lot of old hard drives, just a lot of random stuff that they had from over the years of filming Red versus Blue, some of which isn't even good anymore.
Well, there's stuff from the late 90s there too, which was like so
Yes.
fascinating. And I want to know where all of that is now.
I would hope Bernie has it.
Probably at Bernie's house.
I would definitely hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We get kind of an intro on how Bernie met everyone, or at least that Rooster Teeth was started by a mixture of his film friends and his work buddies that he met at working at the IT company, and kind of how that working relationship, creative relationship blossomed. And then we kind of get the setup for the documentary that they're going to be going to every office that Rooster Teeth had up to that point, which kicks us off with the spare bedroom at Buda. Ray, you said you didn't know that they had, you said that you know about the spare bedroom. Packy, as a longtime fan, had you ever seen the spare bedroom before? And what was your initial reaction to like seeing that?
No, I hadn't seen that. I'd heard them talk about it briefly, but I guess I was shocked
Yeah.
that it was a house. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Like spare bedroom, you think that would obviously click 1 to 1, but yeah, I was really shocked to see. Maybe it was really strange to actually see in the documentary because of the fact that it was someone's legitimate house now and it was set up as like an actual bedroom and not a room full of what they said it was back in the day. But yeah.
A very nice house, might I add.
Yeah.
You could tell Bernie was the vice president of a tech company.
Was he the vice president?
Yeah.
Because what I want to know is how he was affording that house in 2003 in general. Because like when they push this narrative about like, oh, we were started in a spare bedroom, it seems very like bootstraps, like just five guys having fun. But then when you actually like stop and process it, and they had two Xboxes in the same exact room in this giant house, like, oh, no, one of these guys at least already had some kind of money. This isn't as bootstraps as you would expect it to be from the way they spin this narrative.
I think the narrative's still pretty true. I never got the vibe that they're like, oh, we were so poor. It was just kind of like, oh, we just started making these videos for fun while working at a normal job during the day.
That seems pretty normal for tech company startups too, that I feel like most of them start when somebody's, already working at some above entry level tech job that's getting them enough money to get all the shit that they need in order to start something like this.
Especially coming off the heels of the dot-com boom.
My perception could be from like the angle that I heard it from. Because if I remember correctly, you guys are more active in different parts of the Rooster Teeth than I was.
Mhm.
And when you hear it from like the Achievement Hunter perspective, it's like, oh yeah, y'all in that shitty bedroom doing this thing, where
Sure.
it could be framed very differently in other parts of the company when they discuss it.
And it definitely is. It definitely is, Ray, but you're absolutely right that it is talked about maybe with a little more reverence on the Achievement Hunter side, and not reverence, but definitely like back when things were shitty or smaller. But in reality, yeah, Bernie was, he went to UT. He jokes for like 5 or 6 years, but it does seem like he didn't take the traditional 4-year route because he also made a movie. But he was working at a tech company and he introduced some new piece of technology to the company that he introduced that basically made him rise through the ranks very quickly, and he was made vice president. And so he definitely had money at that point. I think that was also kind of why they were meeting at his house to play Halo, because he probably had the nicest house based off of all their stories. but we definitely get to see that house. And it's like I said, it's very nice. They do the documentary thing where I know Brendan's going to feel a certain way about this because I do too, where they try to pretend like they just showed up that day and asked to check out the house.
Yeah.
Which as if, she doesn't have makeup on and this hasn't all been cleared and the whole house is beautifully clean despite them having at least one kid. But the house looks great.
I wonder if they offered to pay for cleaners to come film there. Like, hey, we'll pay to have your carpets shampooed if you let us come inside.
I'm sure they paid them some form of money to film inside the house.
Or maybe, who knows, maybe the documentary crew was, because this is the same crew that made all their documentaries, and they were very professional documentaries. This was not a Rooster, and not that Rooster Teeth wasn't professional, but this is a crew that only did documentaries, and they were very good at what they were doing, and they were not associated with Rooster Teeth, from my understanding. They were their own thing.
From the production house that it said at the end of it, it does look like it was a different place.
Which I think is nice. You want someone outside to film something like that. I think they would know what would look better and like what was interesting to them. And it really feels like it came across well because like we get to see the spare bedroom and they juxtapose it with how it looks like now versus how it used to look like. And we get to see at least my first images of that spare bedroom, which looked like it was both a lot of fun, but I also see how that would have been a nightmare at 4 o'clock in the morning when you have to be at work at 9 a.m. and you're just filming in a stupid video game.
With tangled controllers.
Tangled controllers.
Oh my God, yeah. They couldn't even be wireless.
They couldn't even hire Jack at that point because if Jack was there, he'd be in hell. Oh, context for everybody else. There is literally a video from the 636 era of Achievement Hunter where a prank that they did on Jack Patillo was just tangling the wires because of how bad he hated
that
it.
would have been
rough.
Like that was the whole prank. Just tangle the fucking wires.
And they do talk
Ruin his
about
day.
how filming was a nightmare and how they would get just from the whole process of filming, how they would get everything tangled up. And they do go into how Red versus Blue started, which was Bernie basically had this idea and he pitched it to him and nobody really saw the vision. And the way he hammered it home with them was by showing them this trailer that he shot and did voiceover for himself, which is interesting because the trailer really isn't at all what Red versus Blue ended up being. Pretty much the only concept they took from that was the comedy of the trailer was very Red versus Blue. And it was basically like the subtitles were arguing with the narrator. And then the fact that there was voice over a video game. Like those are really the only things that felt borrowed from that trailer. But I think just seeing that voice over the video game was kind of a eureka moment for them going like, okay, I get it now.
Seeing that trailer is the first time that I learned that Halo is a planet.
Sort of.
Sort of, yeah.
Kind of.
What?
Well, it's a literal Halo.
It's a ring.
Wait, but they said it was a planet in the trailer.
Well, it has like a planet-like surface on
What
the
the
parts
hell?
that you can land on. But yeah.
I feel like I have to play this game now because I'm very lost.
It will not help you with the story of Red versus Blue, but
good game.
it is very good. At this point, we kind of get a montage where we see a lot of different popular Rooster Teeth employees in 2018 talking about how they were first introduced to Red versus Blue or Rooster Teeth. Basically, a lot of them found it in middle school. The one that always blows my mind is Gavin, obviously, because Gavin saw Red versus Blue because a substitute teacher was there one day and the guy sitting next to him was like, hey, watch this. This is really funny. And then now he's, been working there for 20 years, basically.
I really respected that when they had people's names pop up, they also had their site name
Yes.
under it.
That was really cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And the whole thing at this point, and like I was locked in because this is everything I'd already wanted to see up until that point so badly. And Brendan, I'm sure it was the same with you too. Like when you first saw it, because like, especially if you were as hyped as I was to even see it, this is exactly what they promised and they were delivering on it out the gate.
Yeah, with like, showing off all the never before behind the scenes stuff.
Oh yeah.
I mean, at least to 16-year-old, 15-year-old me when I first saw this. But the sad part is they didn't show enough.
No.
They show a lot, but you always want more. And I would have just about died for that extra however much footage and behind the scenes pictures they had of the spare bedroom. Because especially if you're a Red versus Blue fan, I think you have a lot of affinity for that beginning era. Because it's before they are a conglomerate company, and it's when it's legitimately just it's actually just a bunch of friends making stupid videos like everyone else does. It's no different versus, when they move out to different offices, it becomes kind of its own thing.
I think that can be said for a lot of internet media. I forget who was talking about it, but some video that I was watching recently, somebody gave the advice of if you want to be a YouTuber or if you want to make something, edit it yourself, create it yourself. Don't have somebody function the idea for you, or don't have your first thing you make be edited by someone else, because you need to learn how to do those
Right.
things
I completely
because it
agree.
makes it yours. And I think that Rooster Teeth, from the things that I've seen and enjoyed, especially with Achievement Hunter, it was so much more fun when they were the ones editing it, because we were in touch with their sense of humor. And once they started getting editors or things became bigger, it kind of lost that very individual, we're watching this and we like it, but that also means that we like you. And now once you've taken your aspect out of it, it's just not the same.
That's a really good point, because you feel it through the documentary. And obviously, look, this is a lot of rose tinted goggles. It's a lot of nostalgia play. You do really get the sense when they're going through these old areas that they do have a connection and they do miss that time. And a lot of them have talked, Jeff's talked about how he really missed just having this spare bedroom where they're, and really more so the next office that we're going to talk about, and it just being a bunch of friends making stuff. Because for people who don't know, Buda is about 30 minutes outside of Austin, depending on where in Austin you are. And you're kind of removed from Austin, though they all worked in Austin. And I can't imagine what it was like, especially in that first year where they're going on MTV, they're in the Wall Street Journal, they're selling out the Lincoln Center. And then you feel like you're on top of the world. And then you come back to Buda, Texas, where in 2003, I wouldn't be surprised if half the town didn't even use the internet.
It was 3,000 people total.
There's actually somebody who, on one of my videos of going to all the offices, they commented that they grew up in Buda in the early 2000s and they were Red versus Blue fans and had no idea that it was made in their hometown.
Oh, wow.
Which,
wow.
talk about like missed connections. Like if you're a big,
Right.
you're a big Red
Yeah,
versus Blue
seriously.
fan and you're like going to get coffee from, the coffee shop under their office. It's like, oh man, I wish I could meet those guys. We transition towards the Buda office, which was an apartment above like I said, a coffee shop in downtown Buda, which is a very small town. And what you see is basically the main part of the town at that time. Now that exit has like a Bass Pro Shop and Target. That whole area is like really blown up, but that downtown area looks exactly the same as it does in the
Does it
documentary.
really?
Yeah, everything looks exactly the same, looks old timey. Those offices look the same. They look a little bit more weathered because it's been, 7 or 8 years. But so at this office, basically what they started doing here, they'd been doing Red versus Blue up to season 3, and they started doing the Rooster Teeth comic here. And this is where they started kind of the commercial side of the business, where they started shooting commercials, different properties, different game companies. Now they were also flying out to Seattle and doing a lot of stuff out there, some commercial work with some pretty big commercial companies. They talk more about that on the ANMA podcast, but what we get here is an office that we talked about the last person being paid. They were not allowed inside of this office.
Boo, which sucks because I would have loved to seen the inside the same way they did.
Yeah.
But yeah, this office is so cool because this is like the forgotten one. This one gets
Yeah.
slept
It
on.
is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm happy you agree with that because they talk about the downtown office or the spare bedroom or 636. But I love this one because this is like where, and it's not my favorite office by any means, but like I don't know, it's kind of where Rooster Teeth becomes Rooster Teeth in a lot of ways, right? Like that's where it becomes more of an actual company than what it was in a spare bedroom. And this is where people have offices, and there's a lot of stories about this office specifically on
Mhm.
the hit web series podcast Anima.
Anima?
For sure.
Anima.
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 I think this is the office where we get a moment where Jeff just like we get to see some clips of them just working throughout the day. Boy, I could just, if they would have just left that camera rolling for days, I'd watch all of it.
Yeah,
Like at one
seriously.
point, Jeff gets upset because he's like, I just got 100. I can't remember what company it is. He's like, I got 100 like,
Outhouse?
see, I got 100 outhouse invoices that just showed up in my email. And you just hear Bernie off camera go, well, it's been fun, guys. That's it. I guess we're hanging it up.
As the invoice guy, formerly for a very large company, man, that made me upset. That's happened to me before, and it's a hell on earth.
It's just so much fun to see them interacting, or them like, and then Bernie even like he answers the business phone at one point and he just says D's Nuts Productions. And it's like it's you got to see how it was so like not renegade or like not commando. I can't think of the word.
Like guerrilla style.
Guerrilla. Yeah, there you go. Like it was like a very guerrilla style company. That's a great way to say it. And like You actually know, the more we've gotten from Anma and more that they've talked about, like on Bernie's podcast the last few years, we know now how tight things were and how really serious they were taking everything. So it is fun to see that there were these moments of levity. Like Ray alluded to earlier, maybe a little bit propaganda-y, but it was definitely something that I was dying to see.
In all of the stories of their how they did commercials and things for the other company, the Dallas Clark one was particularly
Oh
funny.
my God. The Dallas Clark
It's
video
such a great
is one of
commercial.
my favorite videos. It's so great. Basically, back at the time, if you ever saw any of those old Madden commercials, where it would be people playing Madden and there would be people doing voiceover for the Madden commercials, all of the video was shot by Rooster Teeth, but then the voiceovers were done by other people. Anybody who played Madden at the time would remember these commercials because it was
Mhm.
guys kind of like talking how nobody talks when they play Madden.
Did you know at the time that it was made by Rooster Teeth?
Oh, until this
No clue.
documentary, I had no idea. I knew about the Dallas Clark commercial, like the Dallas Clark video, but I didn't know the lore behind it. I guess I just seen the Dallas Clark video and I thought it was funny. But the lore behind it was that they were doing these commercials and there was a new tackling system that year where two people could tackle one person at the same time. And so there's a moment where, you know, these cheesy guys are playing and they both tackle Dallas Clark and it's a brutal tackle. And they're like, ooh, gotcha, like bang. And then they ask Dallas Clark at a press conference and say, hey man, you got railed on that commercial. Did it, like, what you think? He's like, yeah, my mom called me and said it looked like I died on TV. And which is really funny to go back now and watch those old commercials because it does not look good. But, you know, so they thought it would be funny, and in a very Rooster Teeth fashion, they shot kind of a send up commercial for Dallas Clark. He is playing every position on the field. Basically, you see Dallas Clark. Dallas Clark is a tight end who usually catches passes, but then they're like, that was such a great pass. Who threw it? And they pull back, and it's Dallas Clark actually throwing the ball to himself. Which all culminates in finally Dallas Clark gets tackled for the first time ever, and they're all very shocked by this. And it turns out that Dallas Clark tackled Dallas Clark. And to steal the line, he cloned himself so he could know what it was like to be tackled for once. And then it ends with Jeff as Dallas Clark saying, in your face, everyone else. And then it just pops up at the end. It says Dallas Clark is awesome. Hilarious video that the NFL Players Association did not find hilarious, and they cut Rooster Teeth from the contract, and Rooster Teeth made no more Madden commercials after that, which is so disappointing, and it makes me lose a lot of respect for Dallas Clark.
What a wild way to get kicked off a project.
I know Bernie has the original video. I wish he would upload it in good quality so we could actually see it in a version that doesn't look like it's filmed in like 240p.
It's probably one of the dead hard drives.
Right.
So I'm saying it's probably on one of those hard drives. The only other thing I want to mention from this office is the famous train. There's a train that runs right in front of the office. I don't know how they didn't see how that would be a problem. I think they say in the documentary every hour or two it would come through.
Mm-hmm.
And it would shake everything, and they had to stop recording, they had to stop working, and it would come through and kind of interrupt whatever they were doing every hour or so.
I can only imagine how frustrating that is from a recording perspective. Because, man, let me tell you, when we all sat down to record our very first podcast together, I was having a near breakdown because the dogs outside would not stop barking, and I couldn't get the neighbors' attention to ask them to stop. And I was just like, oh my fucking God, what am I going to do?
And I'll tell you what though, Packy, just kind of like that story, which just sounds nice now in hindsight, it was actually really nice watching them all separately talk about the train. Because they do get kind of, I think they get Bernie and Matt are there, but then you hear Gus talking about the train separately. And they all kind of have this like memory of this awful train that would come through several times a day. It was just kind of nice. I don't know.
Yeah, that in and of itself, seeing them all discuss it. I mean, Matt and Bernie talking about it while it's happening, but just hearing them all reminisce about that in almost a like a charming, nostalgic way was really cool to see.
Oh, for sure.
I did have one thing. I think it was around this time in the documentary, according to my notes at least, but Matt says something that I really liked. He said community is no longer defined by location, but by shared interests,
That's a huge quote.
which is
Huge quote.
so true for Rooster Teeth, especially.
Yeah.
And it's something that I think the internet took maybe, and who knows how well they even understand it now, but the internet felt like it took another decade from they found that out in like 2005, 2006. And now, I mean, that's all the internet is now, are these little pocket communities. And I think we're really moving towards that even more. And Rooster Teeth was, 20 years ahead of the curve, realizing
Mm-hmm.
that, yeah, common interests are the backbone.
I mean, isn't that how we introduced the podcast? That we all had a common interest?
Exactly.
That's why we're here.
It's why
Yeah.
we're here. It's a lot of propaganda. Like I'm excited to hear Ray get into, but it's effective, at least for me. But we then move to the downtown Austin office on the corner of 7th and Congress, which is our third office technically, but our second like actual location. And we get Mr. Jeff Ramsey, who Ray, was he on sabbatical at this point? What was the deal around now? It was like 2018.
I believe he was back from sabbatical at this point. The thing about Jeff being for this part of the documentary that made me kind of emotional was it was what I, as an outside party to his life, would call a very difficult time. He went on sabbatical from Achievement Hunter.
Mm-hmm.
Earlier in the doc, at one point, I believe he mentions, or actually a little bit later, he mentions that he has about a 5-year attention span.
Mm-hmm.
And so his 5-year attention span really ran out for Achievement Hunter. And he did the whole sabbatical thing. And when he came back, there was a noticeable lack of him in Achievement Hunter, even though he had come back to doing work at the company. I am not a fan of Anma, so I don't know if he's ever spoken about it. But between the sabbatical and his divorce and getting sober and all these various things that he was doing, it really seemed throughout this entire thing like he missed the baseline of what Rooster Teeth was and how fun it was when it started. And now it was this big thing that he like couldn't even wrap his arms around anymore. And I think at one point he does get kind of emotional and like kind of starts crying a little bit. And so it was very strange to see him for the first time like that, because the times that we did see him cry as Achievement Hunter fans, it was about things that like made a lot of sense, or we've raised $1 million, or Jack's done this amazing thing. So to see him cry about like this is his baby and it's so big and he like can't even fathom it anymore at a time where he was kind of, in my opinion, walking away essentially, made me very emotional.
So not to because I hate sounding parasocial, but that's the exact reason he created Fuckface actually. Was literally you gave the exact reason. He missed the baseline of what Rooster Teeth was, like the small bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's what Achievement Hunter became, literally, because they were in a small room. And then once Achievement Hunter blew up, there was this, from what I can tell, I feel like he talks maybe about it on So Alright, but that is from what I know why Regulation Podcast was basically created.
And now they're in their own small bedroom.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it was very, as far as I can tell, intentionally never made to be bigger. They didn't expand upon it almost ever. I mean, they've never even added a new member outside of Gracie for like a handful of episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's personally why I like that podcast, is because I think most Achievement Hunter fans are like, oh, I miss when Achievement Hunter was really small and just kind of independent almost. It wasn't this big corporation.
Yeah, Brendan, you really tapped into why I think I enjoy Regulation so much, and I think I even told my wife as much when I first introduced her to it. It listening to Regulation and even going back and listening to old Fuckface gives me early Rooster Teeth vibes. Like when I would listen to it, I'd be like, this reminds me of why I fell in love with the company to begin
Mhm.
with.
Yeah. It's interesting, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
sorry, my thoughts, I'm trying to put my thoughts into words here.
Is there a train going past your office right now?
No.
Let's say the train.
There's the 10 a.m. train going by his head right now.
Yeah, and it's telling me
Yeah.
go back to bed.
Absolutely.
No, it's just like, I agree with you. That is the biggest reason why I fell back into love with, I hate to say Rooster Teeth because I really didn't. I just liked Regulation, well, Fuckface at the time, and
Mhm.
Anima. But it's because like I was getting so sick and tired of seeing the Rooster Teeth site, and it was all these crappy edited videos made by people you could tell had no love for the product, versus you would turn on Regulation and the stuff was like a lot of the videos were still edited by Gavin, which he definitely didn't have to. And this is while they're under the umbrella of Rooster Teeth.
Right.
And they're like, if you go back and watch the baseball hitting video,
Mm-hmm.
I know I'm pretty confident that that was made within the 4 or 5 person team.
I think so. Gavin definitely said he edited both of those videos that they put out.
Yeah.
And you can tell, because you can tell, like, if you go watch like an old Gavin used to edit the Let's Plays back when they first started, like the Minecraft videos.
They all did. It was part of a requirement of their jobs.
And it's not like they are significantly worse being edited by other people. However, I think there is always a charm to those older Let's Plays. Specifically why I love Minecraft episodes like 1 through 50
Yeah,
is because those entire series of episodes is really when Achievement Hunter is still really small. I mean, very popular, but really small, maybe 1 or 2 editors. And I don't know, there's just such a charm to it. It's a charm that absolutely can melt away. And this isn't harping on that having external editors is bad because regulation gameplay has it, and I like that. But
I think you really hit on the head why I haven't gotten into fuckface regulation or really anything post Rooster Teeth. Because it is so important that everything is so personal. But then for me as a fan, I kind of loved it for the way that it also made me feel at that point in my life. And every single time that I've tried to go back to the content, even regulation, where it is very, very similar to what it was when I was 13 and watching Achievement Hunter, I don't think that I can recapture that feeling in any kind of new content. Like, I don't think I'm able to feel that way again about something. And that's why I haven't stayed on with any post Rooster Teeth productions.
It definitely took me by surprise in how I said that it reminded me of the old days of Rooster Teeth. Like I wasn't expecting to find that or feel that way about anything
for
again,
sure.
and it definitely reignited that for me.
it was only propelled when the company got shut down, which is a terrible thing to say, but it's true because now they wholeheartedly are an independent, tiny little company with like 5 employees
Yeah.
Absolutely.
in a tiny little office.
I think part of it is also, like I've been alluding to it, but a lot of this documentary is propaganda. I think part of it for me was everything that happened. I found it difficult to engage with specifically Jeff and Gavin anymore because they weren't the people that they were when I was 13. And everything had changed so much. And I mean, through this podcast, I'm more able to interact with that content again and move past those feelings. So I don't know, guys. You might get me into regulation because you're healing my inner child or
Whoa.
some shit.
Well, and speaking of, I mean, we're talking about all these emotions that you see Jeff feeling, and then how it ties into regulation. It is, I think, a really important thing to note here with everything that you guys are saying. If anybody's watching and hasn't seen this documentary, which there's no reason you shouldn't, it's the only free documentary on the Rooster Teeth website. If you have not,
For good
if you
reason.
Yeah.
have not seen it, yes, you have to watch it. Like, it is so good.
Especially with Rooster Teeth coming back.
Mhm.
I know me and Floppy disagree about this, but I think the documentary has a way more. It ends on the ending to the documentary always depended on where Rooster Teeth as a company was at the time when I'd go rewatch it. And I know we're kind of jumping ahead, but it genuinely because the ending of the documentary is kind of this like what is the future of Rooster Teeth? So like in 2020 when I'm watching it, I'm going, "Wow, this sucks. This is depressing. Look where the company is."
Oh yeah.
But versus now, which I know the company died, but like it's on you're able to watch this on the Rooster Teeth site right now, which is crazy because this site got shut down and destroyed.
Yeah.
And the fact that we can actually watch this on the site, go on the community tab and post stuff is super cool. And it makes me have just this very like warm feeling towards the documentary. And it's still sad because, the company that Rooster Teeth really was is dead, but it is back, and the original guy that created the company has it again. I don't know. It
Well,
makes me feel
in
good.
in the sober light of day, I don't know what we disagreed about, because I agree with everything there. But again, it's 10
Oh,
a.m. and I'm stone cold sober and just nursing a 3 hours of sleep followed by 1 hour of watching Red versus Blue. And
Did you watch it or did you lay in bed and groan the
I
whole
laid in
time?
bed and groaned the whole time. But I think it's poignant to mention, while we're talking about all this, that the office that Jeff goes to look at is actually destroyed, which is kind of tying into what everyone's talking about, that, he's where he's at in his life and how they're reminiscing. And that office on Congress no longer exists. It was above a pita pit. It had been bulldozed, and now it's a bar for a hotel.
My main question also about that entire location is if they had to walk through the pita place to get to their office, does that mean they had to leave on time every day because the pita place would
No, they
close?
had a door out the back that led to the alley.
Yeah, I was going to say, because didn't they talk about how they would go in
Yeah,
overnight to beat
that's
the
true.
heat?
It would get so hot, and the noise, because they, again, it's like, and I know they were making decisions for money, and actually Jason Saldana, the voice of Tucker, is who found them this office. But like the idea, and there's a great short called Many Years Ago where it's actually them moving out of this office, but they're shooting it as if it's their first day moving into the office. And they make a joke
Mhm.
and they say, oh, like, what's that noise outside? Is that a city bus? Like, oh, yeah, I like it. It's kind of the energy of working downtown. And it's like horrible. I can't imagine for recording and how many issues it would present. I know on this is where they started the Drunk Tank podcast. They also started filming Rooster Teeth shorts here. It's an office that
Super Gus.
Super Gus, yes, Super Gus gets a little cameo. Achievement Hunter was actually started here. It's definitely one that I think a lot of people associate with the beginning of Rooster Teeth, because I think for a large chunk of the people who came in when Achievement Hunter popped off, it was the last office they were in. It wasn't the one that they were in when they started watching. It was the office they had moved from.
I feel really silly admitting that I actually didn't know that Achievement Hunter started in an office before 636.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely not.
Average Let's Play enjoyer.
It's like, but like, like, go back and watch that early stuff. It was just not this. It wasn't Achievement Hunter in the same way. Even like Awu had a different vibe to it.
I love the old
Awus are
Awus.
great, but like, it's totally not what, Lads Action News and like all of the excitement that came later.
I think I just thought that the office was a different room in 636 and they like changed rooms eventually.
I mean, yeah, there's that. And then also they definitely try to make those first Awus like, they wanted it to take off as like gaming news, but they wanted to have their own identity in it. It's really interesting watching their minds kind of like create the show, and then it ends up being something completely different. But it's a great time capsule to go back and watch.
Jeff's identity being Slapping Jack is crazy.
This was probably my favorite part of the documentary to get to, because this was about when I really dove into the community and when they started doing RT shorts and everything.
Yeah.
This like took me right back to that moment, and I was just glued to the screen watching this entire part. It was so nostalgic and so awesome.
And it's so quick because they're almost, after just a few minutes, they're already on to 636, which I think was the one most people were excited about.
Was it this office or the next one that they got Monty? I think it was this one.
It was this one. It was this
They
one.
started talking to him there.
Yeah.
Monty was obviously, he had made Haloid. He had done, really cool things already. And they do kind of joke about how they all gathered up at Rooster Teeth to offer him a job, called him. They had a great conversation, and then they had basically either offered him the job or they were trying to offer him the job, and Monty didn't pick up on it. And he's like, all right, bye. And he just hangs up the phone, and they're like, well, I guess that
went well.
Yeah, that went well. And they're like, I guess we're not going to get Monty. But then, yeah, Monty ends up coming on and doing Packy, you saw the debut of Monty's animation live.
I did. Yeah, at it's PAX West now. I think it was called PAX Prime back then. But yeah, I was there in the audience when they unveiled that.
You mean
for the
like when
first
they're
time.
showing off season 8 in the Warthog? I'm gonna stop talking actually.
No, you're right. You're right.
But that
When the
we're talking about that.
busts through the
No,
wall.
no.
With the Warthog, yep.
Oh, I guess that's, yeah.
Nothing happened.
That's true.
I mean, I know a warthog crashes through a wall at some point.
You don't know nothing.
You saw nothing.
Gaslighting me implies a level of care for me that I really appreciate you guys having.
That'll be a year from now. We won't even remember it at that point. Packy's not going to remember the episode.
Are we talking about that, Packy? That's what you saw?
Yep.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
You're so old.
I am.
He's in the video. There's a great video. You can watch the audience reacting to the first time Monty's work was in it.
Yes, it's awesome.
Packy's somewhere in that audience screaming his head off.
My wee little lad voice is out there somewhere.
Every time I watch that video, I get goosebumps.
Mm-hmm.
All of Monty's stuff gives me goosebumps.
Yeah, that's a fair statement, Hammer.
Oh yeah, it's so great. I can't wait to see Ray's reaction to it.
I'll film it. Actually, speaking of my reaction to things, if there's anything really cool coming up that you actually want to see my reaction to, I would record myself watching for a fun little supplemental if you guys want.
The problem is we'd have to do like fake ones too, because I don't want you to know when it's coming.
I don't know when it's coming. I just know that it happens.
Yeah, but I don't want, like, I want it to be completely spontaneous. So we're going to trick you and be like, hey, Ray, make sure you're recording your reaction for season 4, episode 6.
Oh, we could start that during season 6. I was a little disappointed by the lack. Like, they don't do a lot when they're talking about the downtown office, which I guess they can't because it doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist,
But
yeah.
Yeah.
We get a lot of footage though, which is nice.
We get a lot of footage, but this is to me where I love this documentary, but the documentary starts slow. Like they start at 100 and the entire documentary is just kind of going down to 0.
Hmm.
And that's my only complaint with this documentary is like they really hit the peak immediately and then it just kind of fizzles out as you go on. And it's not fizzled out yet, but I think it's because, and I know you like this, Ray, but I wish they would have stuck 2 people per office.
Hmm.
So they would have had Jeff and Gus go to the downtown one, and then they could have had Joel and someone else go to 636.
I agree.
So I agree. I actually think, based on what I know as an outside fan that reads the insider information, like someone posted this thing on Reddit and it's anonymous tip. I think that there wasn't a friendship between most of them at this point in the company, because from the way they talk about it and from what I've seen, the founders really drifted apart by that point and then ended up having to kind of come back together intentionally as friends, because everything was so big and so different and they were in different parts of the company. And I believe this was very close to when Joel ended up being kind of shoved out of the company because of some things that he was saying on Twitter that the company was like, dude, you can't do this.
It is interesting that, I mean, it's a 15-year comprehensive documentary of everywhere they've been and what they've become. And there's never a moment with all of them together.
I don't think that I saw them all together for years up until they filmed the founders video of like they play Halo together for the last
They
time.
would do a panel at RTX, but then they weren't even doing that at a certain point.
Yeah, but they had documentaries together, or not. My bad. Podcasts. They were on podcasts. Like Bernie had those amazing one-on-one Rooster Teeth podcasts.
Oh yeah.
And he had one.
Oh, sure, but we're saying as a group though. Like,
as a big
all
group?
of them together. Yeah, like
Well,
they weren't together for this documentary. They didn't really do things with 4 or 5 of them.
After watching this documentary, I kind of suspect that they weren't all ever friends. The way that Bernie is like the hinge between all of them, because it's Matt, who is his film friend, and then the guys that he works with, and then like this actor they worked with for a one-off project.
I don't get that vibe. I was about to say, like, coming from a non, like...
Are you about to say non-parasocial?
Yeah.
All of them were best friends, and they were all best friends with me too.
But coming from what they said, they would always say, just be like, oh, well, we don't have time or whatever. I never got the vibe they weren't friends or were friends or whatever.
I think they just drifted apart because there was so much going on.
Yeah, like Joel talked about 636, where like things would happen in the building he didn't even know about. The company just got so big and they all handled such different areas.
And I think like with most things, I think both Ray and Brendan are probably somewhat right.
I mean, and this goes to literally anyone that's listening to this, because I used to have this opinion when I was like, 16, 15 of like, well, I hate that the company's small. I just don't get it. Like, I couldn't fathom. I'm like, no, none of them are friends or whatever. But like, if you logically think about this, when you graduated high school, how many people fell off the face of the earth to you that you just didn't keep up contact with? Every time you moved a job, there's so many people you would talk to on an almost daily basis that you just never talk to again. I'm sure it's borderline basically the same thing for Rooster Teeth and the founding fathers. Is they worked together for a very long period of time. They did like each other, but when you grow apart, it's just a natural thing. There's not necessarily animosity into it.
It's definitely similar to when you work with, a group of people in close proximity at work. You have this team of people that you work with, you all spend so much time together, you develop this bond with everybody, but then after working together for 5 to 10 years, then you get promoted, you move on, you switch jobs, you go do something else, and you maybe like keep in contact with them, but then after a while, you just, if they're not anything more than work family or work friends, then once you sever that tie, then eventually you just drift apart.
I mean, I'm sure people that listen to this podcast would be shocked to hear that like Hammer and I have never exchanged a single DM. I think we've talked for a total of 15 minutes by ourselves. Just the perception is that these people all know each other and you can really do some amazing things without knowing somebody.
It's like when Ray left as well. It's like when Ray left, like for a while, I was like, well, why aren't they friends anymore? And I'm like, oh, that makes perfect sense. I'm typically not friends with people from from a old workplace unless I was like really good friends with them at one point.
I think the reason that Ray leaving was such a big thing to the fandom is he didn't even talk to Michael.
100%.
And he and Michael were friends previous to Ray working there. And when that friendship died publicly and we never really got any crumbs of it, it was like, oh, is this guy just like hate all of us, done with us? It was a very parasocial moment in the fandom, in my opinion.
Mhm.
And I think it really was just like, oh, he's wiped his hands of every single person, even if they were friends.
We get Joel kind of taking us around
Yeah.
the old office of 636, which I think is the office that most fans connect with. I know I connect with it the most. I drive by it every day and I can't help but like glance over there and just imagine like on this day 12 years ago what was going on in that parking lot. This is the office where we got Ruby, we got Achievement Hunter blowing up, we got the shorts really blowing up, RTAAs. I mean, this is the office that really, I don't know, blew up.
Baby Gus and shirtless Gus.
We got Baby Gus and shirtless Gus, exactly.
Mayonnaise Gus.
Mayonnaise Gus.
And this was a huge office. There was so much live action stuff with Achievement Hunter. I don't know, it was a really special part in the documentary. And it was just kind of a bummer that again they couldn't really go inside, they couldn't do anything. But I feel like we had all seen the inside of that office pretty well by that
totally.
point.
That part, speaking of this part in the documentary and Joel talking with the FedEx driver, that was
You work here? Oh, I used to.
Yeah, watching that interaction from the point of view of the FedEx driver, it's like this guy's just with a documentary crew. He says he used to work at this place and he keeps talking about dental supplies. And it's like,
and asking what I'm delivering.
Yeah, he's like, oh, who are you delivering it to? Is it he's like, is it a dental company? They hadn't been in that office at that point in like 4 years. Yeah, so we kind of moved straight from 636 into what the company had become at that point, where they had moved to Stage 5 and all of the different projects that came out of that. You know, the Let's Play Live, Camp. I mean, fill in the blank. It's, you know, a lot of shows, but we talk a lot about Monty and what happened with Monty. And it's extremely important to the documentary because, you know, Monty obviously was extremely important to the company. I feel like the documentary maybe should have ended there, but I can see why they didn't want it to end there. But it was hard to come back up out of the Monty stuff into, oh, but things are good now.
I was very unhappy when the Monty stuff came up, not because I don't respect the hell out of Monty. Like, Monty was my sibling's favorite member of Rooster Teeth. When he died, I remember watching the video of Meg Turney crying, trying to get through her script and being like, oh, this is really, really big. And fun fact, one of my biggest posts ever on Tumblr is about Monty and about respecting his memory and making sure new Rooster Teeth fans know who he was so he doesn't get forgotten because he passed away. But at this point in Rooster Teeth's history, they were already going through some controversies, especially with regard to Monty's memory and with their animation department. And I felt like these people all meant very well, but the way that the documentary highlighted certain things and the way that certain things were specifically said, it felt very much like this was, to finally say it, a level of propaganda to be like, no, these horrible things you're hearing about us aren't actually true. And like, here's all of us crying over Monty. And it felt like using his memory in a way to be like, well, these people that are saying we're terrible are actually wrong.
And I was not as dialed in at this point, so I'm kind of taking your word for it. I mean, I knew obviously when Monty died, I remember where I was when I found out about it.
I was blindsided by it. I didn't even know that he was in the hospital.
This whole part of the documentary was definitely like after I had really fallen out with following everybody, but Monty was still a core part of the stuff that had drawn me to Rooster Teeth, you know, in the first place. Obviously being there when that whole thing was unveiled of his animation first showing up in the show. I remember, I don't remember like where I was or anything, but like I remember that moment, like reading that he had passed and just even though I hadn't been following the company for probably like 4 years at that point, just the gut punch of it was, this definitely reminded me like, oh yeah, I remember feeling something, you know, when this news was announced, that was just such a heartbreaking moment.
For me, it really was watching Meg cry in that video because I didn't understand the gravity of it, but I was a huge Meg fan. And to see her specifically break down, I was like, oh, this is something that I'm just never going to understand the scope of because I know what happens now at the end of the story before I can understand his impact.
It was just the period after Monty because then it just
drags, right?
Rooster Teeth's so cool now. Listen, if Ray wants to talk about propaganda, this is where propaganda starts. Rooster Teeth's so cool now. Oh my God, we're such a successful company. Yeah, no, you're not. You suck.
Jesus.
Not
Well,
really. 2018 Rooster Teeth's not
it
that bad.
does drag, for
But
sure.
what I would say though for shoot, like for legit, 2018 to me, I kind of hate saying this because I don't want to be one of those Rooster Teeth is dead people, and I'm really not anymore.
Mhm,
I speak very positively about the company now.
mhm.
I just want to preface this. But I think most people would agree 2018 was probably the last good year of the company on a wide scale
Yeah, I could see that.
because 2020 completely destroyed that company for multiple reasons. And while I do think the company was putting out really good podcasts after 2020, like, 2020 is where that food one with Michael Jones came out.
100% Eat, Face Jam.
I don't watch it.
Yeah.
You had
They had a van and
you had
everything.
Regulation come out, you had Stinky Dragon come out, you had Anima come
So
out,
you
Red
had
Web.
you had
Red
yeah,
Web.
you had Red
you had
Web.
Squad Team Force, right, guys?
Yeah, point is 2018 to me is always the beginning of the end because 2018 is that last year of the real, like what I really thought Rooster Teeth was. And while people had already fallen off majorly by 2018, it just was nothing compared to the fall off the company would have post 2018.
I will say though, basically my question here is I hear everything that you're saying, but I also didn't I felt the same way that the ending kind of dragged and they didn't stick the landing back in 2018 when I was actually like fully bought in at the time. Like I had had my own renaissance. And so I'm trying to pinpoint why it fell off so
Oh,
hard for
I can
me.
pinpoint it. I can pinpoint it real freaking easy.
Uh-oh.
It's pretty simple. They just took you through 10 years of the company being awesome, and then they took you through a few years, or they're basically being like, look how cool we were from 2003 to like 2015. We were this awesome company. Even in 2018, people, like I said, people were seeing the downfall of the company, and not in the sense that, I mean, the controversies weren't truly out yet, but and that's its own thing, but just even the quality of the product, people at this point knew, like, the company was not what it was, it wasn't as good as what it was, and these are just the truths. People okay, let's go into alright, no. Let's go and get one thing
Okay,
going to figure it out.
let's hear it.
People talk about this golden age crap.
Uh-oh.
People in the company talk about this golden age crap, and they're like, "Oh, well, it's only when you started watching the company." That is the biggest load of crap that I've ever heard. That is the dumbest thing. No, there was an actual golden age to this company. That was a real thing, and it's not just when you started watching. I started watching in 2015. I don't have nostalgia for stuff that was made in 2015. I can objectively go and see the Achievement Hunter stuff and be like, "Wow, that's really good." Like from 2012. I didn't grow up with that though. Anyways, got to
Yeah.
get that out.
No, I mean that's a fair point.
That's 100% why the ending is kind of a downer. Is it also kind of ends weirdly. Like this documentary is so structured of like we move to this office, to this office, to this office, to this office, and then they kind of go, well, now what do we do? Because we're at the current office.
Yeah, it's just kind of talking.
Yeah, they just kind of walk and talk. That's it. And the talking's good. It looks good, but it kind of doesn't have any direction outside of the future is bright, and the future most certainly was not bright for that company at all.
Hey, Brendan,
Yeah.
would you say that that's propaganda?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you in
Yeah.
hindsight, especially towards the end of the documentary.
I think you could have stuck the landing if you had ended with the Monty stuff and then you have maybe 2 or 3 minutes of look how much we have to look forward to the future and tied in with his message of keep moving forward, which they did, but then it went on for another like 10 minutes after that, where again, it just kind of felt for something with so much structure, it kind of felt structureless at the end. And and then it just kind of ends.
Something that really bothered me throughout the entire doc is they were using video from everything that they had done, which they should, but they were using footage from the Jessica Negri doc. And I don't know if you guys have seen it. Have any of you seen it?
Once when it came
No.
out.
Yeah.
So the Jessica Negri doc, as like a very basic overview, is following Jessica Negri, a very, very prominent cosplayer who I respect the hell out of. She did a lot of work with Rooster Teeth. She was Cinder in Ruby, I believe. And is that her name? Cinder?
Yeah, I believe so.
The scary red lady. And without the context of what that doc is, putting that footage into this doc is just, here's a pretty lady standing in the forest in a very big suit of armor. And I know this is showing off other things that Rooster Teeth has done with a cosplayer they worked with, and something that this specific documentary team also worked on. And I understand wanting to highlight what they've done, but why are you using this thing with no context?
Well, I think it was a lot of like just it fits into what we're saying. Like they're just trying to throw camp footage in there, throw Achievement Hunter
But
Live,
at least
throw
they
like
mentioned Camp.
no, that's true. But I just mean like they're just like throw everything we're doing right now in there to say we did, and like this is how the company's going to get much better. Look, see at all these like shows we're doing now,
Yeah.
and it does just it feels like everything in the kitchen sink. Like I don't know. It just kind of it's a little too much. I agree.
Like I said, I to me the documentary just shows like look how awesome everything was, and they kind of go, and we're still awesome, but anybody with half a brain knows, no, you guys kind of fell off a little bit, and especially knowing hindsight, you're like, and you're gonna fall off a lot more from here. The future is not bright. It is so dim that
Yeah.
your company shuts down. And I say this with all the love. I love where Rooster Teeth's at now, but it, it's just a little. You watch it and you're like, huh. You kind of laugh. You're like, yeah, this is not what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, like as somebody who does vlogs, and making a vlog is essentially editing a small documentary about your life with hours and hours of footage every single month. I don't want to call myself a documentarian, but I am a creator. And the way that I go about picking my clips between the vlogs that I do and the fan edits that I do, like y'all saw my Jeff one, I feel like I am more intentional in those personal little projects than a literal documentary team was for this.
Yeah, it's that it's the good and the bad, right? I liked that there was a professional team who made this in a way that I think it was a better quality than maybe what a Rooster Teeth made documentary would have been. But you also do miss the personal touch of it being a Rooster Teeth documentary too.
I think it kind of goes back to what we were saying earlier during the conversation about Rooster Teeth and what regulation has become.
Mhm.
When you have something that's being created and worked on and put out by the people that are directly involved in it, as opposed to people that are specifically hired for that task and nothing else, there's a level of, I guess, like personality and charm to it that you lose when that task gets put onto somebody that's just specifically there just to do that one thing, instead of being somebody that's involved at many different steps in the entire process.
And that's kind of what happened to Rooster Teeth when they got sold, is they lost that.
Mm-hmm.
So this documentary is just a symptom.
That's another thing we didn't
Yeah.
even touch on, by the way. The documentary does talk about being sold to full screen.
That's true.
They do acknowledge that a lot of people were pretty like, I don't know about this, but they again spin it as like, no, it's a good thing. It's a good thing, guys. When in hindsight, it was not a good thing. Well, that's complicated, but
It is complicated.
Nowadays, they'll admit that's the day the company died.
Yeah,
a lot of
now-
people will. A lot of employees have come out and been like, yeah, I hated that decision. I will say it definitely justifies a lot of feelings that I think fans had, where they were like, see, we weren't the only ones.
Yeah.
I've wanted to kind of cut up footage from them talking about things back then to what they've actually saying about him now. My favorite example being after the finale of Game of Thrones aired, how glowingly positive everyone at Rooster Teeth was about it. And I was like, I can't be this insane, right? This was terrible. And then finally the other day on the Morning Summer podcast, Bernie's like, oh yeah, man, you couldn't see anything in that episode. But I know there is a moment from the Rooster Teeth podcast after that. He's like, I don't know why everybody was complaining about the lighting. I could see everything just fine.
Why do you think they were like that?
Probably the same as the Dallas Clark thing, though, where it's like, don't say this bad thing, otherwise we're going to lose our contract. But in that case, their contract is like their entire.
Well, that's the thing. I'm not
Yeah.
like disparaging them for not shitting on Game of Thrones. Like Brendan said, it's cathartic. I knew you hated this.
I definitely
Yeah.
didn't understand when I was younger, but I definitely understand now with the job that I have and the corporate environment that I have, what the expectations in that are and how they were trying to be inside of those expectations. And it is, for me personally, one of my notes was it's so easy to forget how big Rooster Teeth actually was, especially as an Achievement Hunter fan, because it stayed this core cast and the editing room was in a different section. And when it was the finale and we're actually seeing how big the company is and how big RTX is and how everything was just so huge, it was kind of like a culture shock for me, because for me, this always felt much smaller than it actually was. And I knew that they were international. I knew they had a gazillion RTXs, but it just felt so small somehow.
For sure. And it was. I will say we didn't cover a few things from the documentary, like Ray just actually brought up. Didn't go over the RTX stuff. We didn't really go over the laser team stuff. But that means you should go back and watch the documentary yourself because it's really good. Despite how this conversation turned towards the end, we all really liked it, I think.
They mentioned the Let's Play family. No one ever mentions the Let's Play family.
Yeah. What a success that was.
So this has
Brendan.
been a fun little supplemental. I guess it's a real episode, but a fun little foray away from Red versus Blue. But we are about to turn right around and talk about Red versus Blue. So
Wait. Did you say foray?
Foray. Oh, foray. There we go. Yay.
For me?
So we're going to turn right back around. We're going to be talking to you here again in a few minutes, but you'll hear us next week. Thank you for listening, and happy Rooster Teeth coming back documentary Thanksgiving. Bye.
Hey, Packy, did you get the milk?
Bye. What?